Here's how to add type to your InDesign file. First, you want to take your report and place it into the project folder that you've already created for this type specimen book project. Secondly, we're going to go to page 7. So we're going to go to page 7 because type is traditionally started on a right-hand page in a book. So first, we're going to add a headline in here. I'm going to take my text tool, and I'm going to create a box, and I'm going to type in my font, which is Baskerville, and the typeface, 1750. I'm going to select that. I'm going to go to my properties palette. I'm going to change that from Minion Pro to Baskerville. And I'm going to make it larger. So in my case, maybe something like that. 26, 28 point. I want it fairly large so it's bigger than my body face. I'm going to change it to optical kerning. You'll notice that the numbers are now better kerned when we set an optical kerning. And then I'm going to do -10 on the tracking because I'm using it larger than a body face, and it's just going to look a little better. Okay, so that's my headline. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my report. To do that, I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Place. The first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I've turned on Show Import Options. Secondly, I want to go to my report, and I'm going to click Open. Now, because I put on Show Import Options, what happens is I get this dialog box. And the problem with bringing in Microsoft Word documents is that there are styles built into the Microsoft Word document, and we don't want those sort of polluting the InDesign document. What we want to do is just to bring in pure text and then do all the styling from within InDesign. In order to do that, so this is what's usually turned on. We want to turn on Remove Styles and Formatting from Text and Tables. For that matter, we can also tell it to not do footnotes and endnotes and index and table of contents, particularly if those don't exist in your previous document and you don't want them in here. I'm going to click OK. And you'll see that the cursor is now filled with text. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in the upper left of this column, and I'm going to drag down to the lower right of this column, and you'll see that it fills with text. And I'm going to just go ahead and delete the header from this. So I just have my text. Next, if you see this little red mark down here in the lower right, the little red square, it indicates that there is more text to this document than is currently visible. In order to then create more text, and we're going to have this text continue on into this next column, I need to go to my black arrow up here, and I need to click on this tiny little red box, and you'll see that you get another cursor filled with text. And I can click and drag and fill that column. And you'll see I get another red box, which indicates there's more text. And I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to go up to my Pages palette, and I'm going to click on page 9. And I'm going to click and drag here. And then there's the red box again, click and drag here. Okay, and I still have a red box, so there's more text. I'm going to go back up to the top of this document, and I want to show you, first of all, that these are linked. If I click on this column and I hold down here on this handle for a moment, and then I drag this up, you'll see that the text in the other column changes, and that indicates that it's linked properly. Next, we're going to go and style this text. Extra space. So I'm going to click somewhere in this text. It's all linked together. If I go to Edit, select All, or Command A, it selects all the text. I'm going to go to my properties, and I'm going to change this to Baskerville. Regular. I'm going to take this down to 10 point. I'm going to set this up at specifically 12 point. What I want to do next is I want to see if this type is a good size for the columns here. So I'm going to find the longest line. This is a fairly long line, and I'm going to count the characters. That's about 35. So that's not small enough. If we want to have about 40 characters to a line, I'm going to click, select all. So we actually want somewhere between 40 and 75. 40 is really the low end. So I'm going to actually take this down an entire point. And that looks like too much leading. So I'm also going to take this to 9 on 11. And then I'm going to take another long line. 3, 6. That's exactly at 40. So I'm going to consider that to be good. And so that's a good size. If it was still running 37, 38, then I'd probably bring it down to like 9.75 or something like that. Next, I'm going to select all this text again. What we don't have in here yet is paragraph indents. So it's going to be difficult to tell where paragraphs start and end. So I'm going to select Command A. Under paragraphs, we have indent on the left, we have indent on the right, but then here we have indent the first line on the left. And I'm going to make that match my leading at 0p11. And that does that. And now I'm going to turn off preview. And you can see the text looks about like that and about like that. And as it turns out, that's small enough that in fact, all of my text fits within these 2 pages. How about that? Okay. The one other thing I want to do here is I want to make sure that this lines up nicely. If we go down here, we see that this text all starts at the very top. We want this text to also line up. What I can do is I can take and drag this to the top. And then what I would do is I would move this line down until it lines up with the type on the right. Then I would bring this type until it lines up at the top here. And so that all lines up very consistently from page to page. Okay. Then finally, what I want to do is a nice little touch on this first paragraph. So usually the very first paragraph of an article or any paragraph that's right after a subhead would not have an indent. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on this paragraph. I'm going to go down to this first line indent and change that to 0. And then I'm going to do something very smart. There's something called an initial cap, which will help bring attention to the beginning of the article. And to do the initial cap, I go down here under ignore, and I go to this line, and it says drop cap number of lines. And I have to click this a couple of times before it has an effect. But there would be an initial cap B. And if we go to preview, we see that it then looks about like that. And it looks rather smart. So try that, and I hope you have some fun with it.